Dear student, today's our topic is type of connection and bolted connection in steel structural design. Our first chapter of elementary structure design in steel portion. So in this video, we will discuss type of connection, what is property of bolt, what is advantage of bolted connection, what is disadvantage of bolted connection, and codal provision to establish bolted connection. So start with the first types of connection. According to rigidity of joint, there are mainly described in three types. First one is simple or flexible connection. Second one is rigid or moment resisting connection. And third one is semi-rigid connection. So start with the first, simple or flexible connection. So it does not offer the resistance against rotation and also termed as hinge or pin connection is called simple or flexible connection. It transfer only axial or shear force and it not designed for moment. So it's only resist the force. It cannot resist moment. And it is generally connected by single bolted, riveted and therefore full rotation is allowed. So these are the description of simple or flexible connection. Second one is rigid or moment resisting connection. So it's designed in a such a way that it's offer resistance against rotation and also term as a moment resisting connection. Along with the axial or shear force, it transfer moment also. It is generally connected by multiple bolts or rivet and therefore the rotation is not allowed in these types of connection. Third one is semi-rigid connection. So designed in a such a way that it's offer resistance against rotation but less than rigid connection. Along with axial or shear force, it partially transfer moment. The rotation are allowed but the magnitude is less than rigid connection. It means it not fixed, totally flexible connection or it's not totally rigid connection. In between, there are the third option is semi-rigid connection. So here I mentioned that in actual practice, connection are neither simple nor perfectly rigid, but they can idealize as a simple, rigid and semi-rigid connection. Now types of connection based on the internal force transfer that will be discussed in previous is external force transfer. Now we get transfer to the internal force. So based on there are the three types. First one beam end connection, second one axially loaded connection and third one while we transfer the eccentric loaded connection. So first frame connection. Web of the beam is connected directly to the column or another beam. Second one is seated connection. It means there are the two types in seat connection, stiffen and unstiffen. So in which category it will fall in previous classification? So that are nothing but beam connection is nothing but you can say simple or flexible connection. Now axially loaded connection. So there are the assumed to be hinge and ideally member should be connected by one bolt. So if connected by two or more bolts or welding result into the development of small partially fixity which can be ignored. So these connection are taken in category of simple or flexible truss member joint. Now eccentric loaded connection. So the connecting in which moment acting in a plane or joint. For example, joint subjected to shear force, torsional moment. The connection in which moment acting perpendicular to the plane of joint. For example, joint subjected to shear force or bending moment. So these are the which category you can classify. So this is rigid and moment resisting connection. So as per the internal force transfer, they are the subcategory for simple connection, simple or flexible truss joint and rigid moment connection. Now design consideration of connection. Which are the parameter we consider to kept in mind for designing? So design more conservatively than members because there are more complex and analyze and between analysis and design is large. So in case of overloading or you can say failure in member is preferred to failure connection. So connection or more half than cost of structural in steel work. So connection design has influence over member design. Similar, the member connection are also classified ideally type of effected through rivet or you have to connect through bolting or welding. So next, first fastener. Fastener means connection type that you can use for two plate or any member. First, riveted connection. So use of rivet, it becomes obsolete as a requirement of preheating, skill supervisor, more labor and riveting equipment. Therefore, is given on design of bolted and design of rivet is similar the design of bolt. So in new codal, after the revision of IS 800, riveting connection it should be neglected. So same option you can design as a bolted connection. Here I can see the figure of riveted connection. So you can visualize the connection of riveting. It should be used in a special skill labor and riveting equipment are needed to provide the riveted connection. Next one is bolted connection. So you can see in the figure the bolted connection and you very well know the shape of bolt. In that first black bolt. So in bolted connection IS 1363 part 1, 2 and 3 are made of the different properties of bolt and different types of bolt. So first we describe black bolt. So it made up by mild steel bar with square or hexagonal head. So there are the two options, either the head should be square or it should be a hexagonal. Commonly used and less expensive. So these bolts are commonly used because they are less expensive. Commonly used for lighter structure, not recommended for the connection subjected to impact, fatigue edge and dynamic bolt. So it's not used while you case of impact, fatigue edge and dynamic load. You can see the parts of bolt also and we later on also discuss the parts of bolt. So the strength of bolt is denoted by 4.6 grade. So what is 4.6 grade? 4 is FU, it means ultimate strength of bolt multiplied by 100, it means 400 Newton per mm square. And FY, 6 means 60% of ultimate stress. So FY should be 240 Newton per mm square. Next, high strength bolt. So there are made of bars of medium carbon steel bar. The bolt property class 8.8 and 10.9 are commonly used in this steel construction and identify the 8.8S and 10.9S marking on the bolt head suffix S denoted by S. You decide the high strength bolt. Now how can decide that this is the black bolt or high strength bolt? So in a bolt marking in a suffix S is denoted by high strength bolt. You can see in this figure. Ready? So which type of grade are in high strength bolt? So 8.8 to 10.9. It means 800 FU, 800 Newton per mm square to 1000 Newton per mm square FU are converted into the high strength bolt. Next, high strength friction grip bolt is denoted by HSFG. So the IS 3757 1985 is described that there are the bolt in which include the initial tension, but they do not allow the slip between the connection of two members. Due to this high strength, number of bolt required are less and size of gusset plate required is also less. So if you using the high strength grips in bolt, you reduce your number of bolt in a connection and also reduce the size of gusset thread. So these bolt are start from the grade 8.8 to 10.9. Here you can see the difference between high strength bolt and high strength friction grip bolt. You can see the figure. It should be a very frictional grip additional should provide at the end of bolt, and your head should be a very resisting the final ultimate strength of the bolt. Next, part of bolt assembly. So you can see the figure parts of bolt. You you can see here the parts of different bolt. In that, first you can see the head, and second one is snake area, means threaded are not interfering, and last portion of bolt you can see at the part of threaded, and whole portion is denoted by length of bolt. You can see grip also, washer also, nut also, and visor face also. So there are the types of bolt assembly you can connect with the bolted connection. So grip is distance from behind the bolt head to the back of the nut, or you can say visor. It is the sum of the thickness of all the parts being joined exclusive of a visor. So thread length is threaded portion of bolt, and bolt length is the distance behind the bolt head and the end of bolt. So there are the two length you have to mention, that threaded length and overall length of bolt. Now, what is advantage and disadvantage of bolting? So the bolting operation is very silent. Bolting is cold process, and hence there is no risk of fire. Bolting operation is more quicker than riveting connection. Less manpower is required to making this connection. Now what are the disadvantage? So it's subjected to vibratory loads, result in reduction in strength of bolt. Also, unfinished bolt or have a lesser strength because non-uniform diameter. So these are the disadvantage of bolt. And next, essential background. So the table is describe the tensile properties of structural steel product as per the IS 800-2007 in table number 1. You can see the grade of bolt is described over there, and properties yield stress and ultimate stress is given to you. Next, table 5 is also describes about the partial safety factor of material. So clause number 5.4.1 in IS 800, different partial safety factor of material is described. Either it should be a riveted, bolted or welded. So these are the table 5 is given about all about partial safety factor. Some typical arrangement of bolted connection you can see in this side. First one is lap connection, second one is butt joint, third one is tension connection, and tension plus shear connection. So these are the typical arrangement to providing the bolted connection. Thank you friends.